evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Okay, first item on the agenda will be item number 3, public comment. Is there any public comment? State your name and address for the record. Yeah, come to the microphone, please, Mr. Chairman.
Ed Shack, 7 Country Club Drive. I attended the last Selectmen's meeting, and probably to the pleasure of most of you, did not speak about that cell tower. But I did listen to what was said, and I need to preface it by saying, most of you don't know me. Mr. Miller probably knows me better than most. I generally support what happens in this town and what you people do and the time you commit. At the last meeting, if I can remember, I don't remember it all, Ms. Stanek spoke about need to get a signage on Route 8 in order to increase traffic in town. Ms. Clarity spoke about replacing an ugly sign at Henny Penny, which you addressed, Mr. Miller. Mr. Bruno spoke about the mess that was left at one of the underpasses for the state. Mr. Green spoke about Cedar Street and the need to clean that up, especially since we use it for a race and outsiders see what could get a bad impression of this town. Today I read about the improvements we made, thanks to your work. And Mr. Miller, you're quoted as saying, and it's good, we are really making strides in changing perceptions of Seymour. With all these good things I hear you say, and all the good things I've seen you do, I just can't fathom or understand how you could consider placing this cell tower, this eyesore, in a residential neighborhood. So once again, I'm here, I don't know where it is, I haven't heard much about it, but once again, I'm here emphasizing my opposition to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Chair.
Marcia Shuck, 7 Country Club Drive. Perhaps you believe that opposition to the proposed AT&T cell phone tower is limited to the few of us who have been attending these meetings and voicing concerns. I can assure you that this is not true, and as indicated by the number of Seymour taxpayers who have signed petitions that I'm going to be giving you, almost 100 taxpayers signed this petition, and I can assure you it was with minimal effort on the part of those who were gathering them. I hope you take this petition into consideration when you do vote on this proposed cell tower. Do you want me to read the petition?
You can read just what's on the top, and then
Okay.
you can present it to the council.
Yeah. We, the undersigned residents of the town of Seymour, Connecticut, demand the town of Seymour, Connecticut Board of Selectmen deny the request by AT&T to construct a cell phone tower at the Great Hill Hose Company property located at 140 Botsford Road, Seymour, Connecticut. Potential unknown health risks jeopardize the health of surrounding residents, visitors, and workers in the area. The unsightly tower will detract from the beauty and natural topography of the area. The Great Hill Hose Company fire station is within the fall zone of that tower, thus causing concern for the safety of firefighters and their equipment. The proposed lease payment for AT&T will have minuscule effect on town revenues, and the proposed tower will decrease property values of the surrounding homes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Teresa, if you can, after you review it, we'll have copies passed out to everybody. That's okay? Is there any other public comment? Mr. Russell.
Nice to know you know me by name.
I know everybody.
I have a letter, Richard Rossick, 34 Robert Street. A letter of request under the Freedom of Information. Recently, it has gone through with little fanfare about the promotion of the brass at the police department. It has also gone as far as the Board of Selectmen getting rid of a decorated officer because of his age. With that said, Nobody seems to know how old the police chief is. He's been in this town since 1988. I know that for a fact because he used to be with Aunt Sonia. If he's over the age of 65, like Sergeant Goodmaster was, he needs to go under the rule of the 65 retirement age. I would also like to know for the police department the test scores for the lieutenant to become deputy police chief, and all of the test scores from prospective candidates for that position, because it should have been open nationwide. Never had a deputy police chief in this town. Don't know why we need one now. If it wasn't put out fair game, he needs to step down, because I've heard he's not even qualified. And on a different note, my normal bug with the Board of Education. I'd like to know how many times a school administrator has to mentally and physically abuse parents and students before she is terminated. I will not mention the name, but it is in this letter. And also, I would like to know how many times a school administrator can falsely accuse parents of child abuse and get away with it. Something needs to be done. The administrators in the school system are out to prosecute. I have said it before, and I will continue to say it loud and clear until everyone in this town knows that they do not deserve their positions. And finally, after your town meeting presenting the budget, you said this town was financially stable with a $4 million surplus in a rainy day fund. If we have all that money, why aren't our roads being fixed? Why are our town buildings still crumbling? Stop raising the taxes and start fixing things. Here's the letter.
Roy? Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Hearing no other public comment, we'll close public comment. Item number 4, approval of minutes from the April 15th, 2014 meeting. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion by Len. Second by Al. Under discussion, Len came up with some changes which Leanna has already corrected. Are there any additional changes? No? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-0-1. And please note Anne Marie's abstention. Item number 5, approval of minutes from the April 21st, 2014 special meeting. Can I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion by Paul. Second by Al. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes 3-0-3. And please note Karen, Anne Marie, and Len's abstention. Also in your packets are the minutes from the Ordinance Committee meeting on Tuesday, April 29th, 2014. That's just more for reference. Item number 6. First Selectmen's report. I'll go through the report quickly. Met with DECD in Hartford to discuss brownfield grants for Housatonic Wire. We've been given additional time, and as of now, the grant will remain available for the next few months. This information was passed on to the property owner as well. Thanks go out to State Representative Conroy, Fred Masori, and BCOG Executive Director Rick Dunn for their help. Attended the first annual Valley Salvation Army Recognition Dinner, which was certainly a very nice thing. Attended and spoke at the Seymour High School Take a Stand Day. It was a great event to benefit our kids attending prom. I'd like to personally thank Rich Kearns for all the hard work and effort he puts into this program. Attended Comcast Cares Day at the Seymour Community Center. Along with about 40 Comcast employees, we painted, landscaped, and did some repair work to the building to benefit the Boys and Girls Club of Seymour. It was a great event, and I'm very appreciative of the Comcast staff for all their help. Had the privilege of hosting the National Day of Prayer services at Town Hall. It was a very inspiring event and always reminds me how fortunate we are to live in a country that allows leaders of different religions to all meet in a safe and peaceful way for the benefit of the community. This morning, actually, I attended the 2014 Emergency Management Symposium to help better prepare Seymour for the upcoming storm season. I'm very proud to announce that the town of Seymour has won the Connecticut Main Street Center's 2014 Renewed Commitment to Main Street Award. I'll be receiving the award on behalf of Seymour at their awards gala on June 9th. The award comes from the hard work and dedication of many people. I'd like to personally thank our Economic Development Director, Fred Masori, who is not here, for all of his hard work in leading us towards this great recognition. And finally, I'm proud to say that Standard & Poor's has increased the town's bond rating 2 levels from a AA- to a AA+. This new rating puts us 1 level below the highest possible rating and emphasizes the financial strength of the town. We made a commitment 2 years ago to improve the town's financial condition, and this shows we are taking the right steps and headed in the correct direction. Many people have worked very hard to help us achieve this, and the impact will be tremendous benefit for the community. In this year's budget alone, we'll save close to $70,000 in debt service costs, and we are projecting a savings of over $320,000 for next year. So with that, I will close First Selectman's report. This time, I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda discussion and possible action regarding a resolution empowering the First Selectman to sign a contract with the Connecticut State Library for the Historic Documents Preservation Grant.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Anne Marie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution empowering the First Selectman to sign a contract with Connecticut State Library for the Historic Documents Preservation Grant. We should all have a resolution in front of you. I'll read the resolution into the record. Resolution empowering the First Selectman to sign contract. Resolved that W. Kurt Miller, First Selectman, is empowered to execute and deliver in the name and on the behalf of this municipality a contract with the Connecticut State Library for a Historic Documents Preservation Grant. Can I have a motion to accept the resolution as read? Motion by Al, second by Anne Marie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I think you raised your hand, Karen, I'm sorry. Sorry. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. Chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. Sorry about that. Next item on the agenda, item number 7, discussion and take possible action on the usage of LOCIP funds. You should all have a letter in your packet dated May 6, 2014 to the Board of Selectmen from the Operations Department for the use of LOCIP funds. We are requesting approval for the use of LOCIP funds to have 20 trees in the downtown area removed due to the overgrowth of branches and the undermining of roots on our sidewalks and roads causing damage. These trees are also obstructing the pathways and are one of the causes for ADA non-compliance. We received 2 quotes. The first one was from Jim Weed in the amount of $25,000. The second quote was from Ten's Lawn Care for $17,500. We will be hiring Ten's Lawn Care to remove the trees and begin work in the evening hours to avoid any conflicts with the downtown merchants as soon as possible. Thank you in advance for your consideration. And then the second one is to myself from Dennis Rosen, Public Works Director, regarding 13 Bunting Road. The Seymour Public Works Department is requesting the Board of Selectmen to authorize $5,500 in local investment program LOCIP money to perform necessary repairs to broken underground drainage pipes. The funds will be allocated to heavy equipment rental, pipe fitting, road mix fill, and asphalt. And it's signed regards Dennis Rosen, and it's dated May 5th, 2014. So at this point, we'll go through them one at a time, and Leanna, please mark Nicole's arrival at 7:19. So Rich, is it okay if we go through these one at a time?
Yes.
So first, I'll entertain a motion to use $17,500 of LOCIP funds to hire TENS Lawn Care to remove 20 trees in the downtown area and replace the bricks due to overgrowth of branches and the undermining of roots on sidewalks and roads. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Karen, second by Len. Just under discussion, the contractor's going to work during the evening hours, so it doesn't disrupt any of the downtown businesses. They will be they'll be cutting down the trees, pulling the stumps, and replacing all of the brick. Now, the spots where the trees are, that is not included, the replacement of those bricks, because we can't tell what that amount is until we actually pull the trees out. As you know, a lot of the sidewalks downtown, because we planted in improper trees, they're all bowing, and it's an ADA compliance issue. We reached out to the folks up in Hartford, and they approved the use of the LOCIP funds for this repair. It's estimated it'll take about a week or so to get all the trees removed. Any additional questions on that?
Yeah, I got just a quick just clarification. So when they pull up the stumps, they're going to pull everything out, everything else. The trees are going to be cut down. We're going to have those areas where the trees were. It's still, I would assume, mulch or whatever the heck is there.
Dirt.
It's just dirt. It's dirt. Okay. Is there going to be any kind of damage to the existing brick there? What happens if it gets, if it needs to be replaced? Is that part of the? Is that covered under the contract?
That's phase 2.
That's phase 2.
They can't price that because they don't know, one, how much brick is going to need to be repaired.
Okay.
So once all the trees are taken out, then we can have someone come in and price that out. They'll know exactly the amount of brick. They'll be able to measure it out, and then they'll fill that in.
So basically, just to be clear, it's basically just cutting the trees down, ripping the stumps out, and then putting whatever's left of those bricks back in place so that they kind of work for the time being.
Yes.
Okay.
But one of the things the contractor will be doing is they will be picking the bricks up before they pull the stumps. So they're just not going to rip the stump and tear all the bricks.
Okay.
So they're going to try to preserve as many bricks as possible.
So for in the future, are we going to plant trees that actually will work there, or are we just going to brick it over?
We're just going to brick it over.
I couldn't remember what we talked about it, but we did.
Just not for ADA compliance purposes, we'll keep the sidewalks clear and wide.
Yeah.
That way there's
Makes
no
sense.
issues with that.
Yeah.
Okay, any additional questions on that? Dennis, anything you'd like to add? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next one before us is the 5,500 for work in front of 13 Bunting Road. So I'll entertain a motion to spend $5,500 in the LOCIP funds to perform necessary repairs to broken underground drainage pipes in front of 13 Bunting Road.
So moved.
Motion by Len. Second. Second by Paul. Under discussion, Dennis, you want to tell us just a little bit more about this?
The issue that we had here, we had a call from the police, and we responded to that because of a sinkhole. We barricaded it that evening, and the next day we started to dig. And what we determined was that by the time we got to the pipe, which was approximately 8 feet deep, there were 2 pipes, one on top of each other. And we had to keep digging until the break was located, which we found. Unfortunately, we couldn't work on it with our own equipment because, again, it was just too deep. We could reach it, but that's as far as we can go. Second problem we had is, if we were to work on it, we didn't have any shoring devices to protect the men going in the hole to work. So at that point, we would have to subcontract to get the proper excavator in there and the shoring equipment. The piping was to cut and repair the existing holes, and then to fill, we estimated approximately 50 tons of road mix fill to go back in there and approximately 10 tons of asphalt to finish it off. Our own people will work alongside with the subcontractor as well. We will do all the hauling of all the materials and do the asphalt work ourselves. But the biggest issue was the heavy equipment and the shoring equipment.
That's all for safety.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be worth our while to purchase anything like that because we don't generally get involved with anything quite that deep. Most of the drainage work we're doing is probably 4 or 5 feet deep. This was an out of the ordinary type system there.
Anybody have any questions of Dennis? Again, this was pre-approved for the LOCIP program, so. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0, excuse me. Next, I'd like to add to the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding the hiring of Department of Public Works seasonal employees. Can I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding the hiring of DPW seasonal employees. Added to your packets, you should all have a letter from Sean Walsh, Chairman of the Public Works Board, dated May 5th. All members of the Board of Selectmen, after reviewing applications and conducting interviews, the Board of Public Works recommends the Town of Seymour Board of Selectmen extend offers of employment to 2 of the summer help positions to Brian Thompson and Alfred Presteramoni, if I'm saying that correctly. Pietrosimone, thank you, Al. Pending background checks, license verifications, pre-employment drug screening, and any other screenings the town deems necessary. Sincerely, Sean Walsh, Chairman, Board of Public Works. Attached is, excuse me, the employment applications for both people. Alfred would be a new employee. Brian, I believe this would be his 3rd year? 4th year coming back with us. One of the things that we strive for with this summer help program is to try to uncover potential future Public Works employees. We've found 3 of our current Public Works employees through this program. All 3 are extremely hardworking and have turned out to be very well. So, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to accept Chairman Walsh's recommendation and offer positions pending background checks, license verification, pre-employment drug screening, and any other screening the town deems necessary to Brian Thompson and Alfred Presteramoni. Pietrosimone.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Is there any discussion, any questions? We will have 1 more position we'll be filling as well, 2 more positions, which I expect we'll be doing for our next meeting. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, item number 8, discussion and take possible action on the Tingue Dam bypass maintenance agreements. We have a resolution in front of us for approval, but before we do that, Mr. Stanek, if you wouldn't mind just filling the board in quickly on just kind of where we are at this point with the maintenance agreement, what it accomplishes and so on.
Mr. Selectman, members of the Board of Selectmen, before you is a formal resolution for approval, for your consideration and approval, to approve and enter into an operation and maintenance agreement with the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. This agreement would be between the town and that agency for the maintenance and operation of the fish bypass channel, as well as the park alongside the channel. The responsibilities of the state are those of maintaining the fish bypass channel. They're detailed in the agreement. The responsibilities of the town are to maintain the park facility. The agreement does specifically allow the park to be closed by the town. The town has the right to do so during the winter months. This agreement has been discussed extensively with Mr. Rosen, Mr. Caserta, Mr. Miller, in the past, Mr. Stevens of Public Works, and there was a lot of consideration as to maintenance of the park during the winter months. The EEP has no problem with our decision, if we wish, to close the park during the winter months, which obviously will mean that we do not have to plow or remove snow or sand or salt, especially the steps in that area. The agreement also allows the town to use the parking facility for special events such as Founder's Day or the like. There's no prohibition by DEP, even though we have extensive maintenance agreements, easement agreements with regard to the parking area. And DEP is going to also be involved, if upon request of the school district, to allow tours with DEP supervision and and educational programs for the school district, if desired.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Stanley?
Actually, I just have one quick one. With regard to the maintenance of the park itself, I know that there have been some concerns with regard to flooding, particularly spring seasonal flooding and everything else. You had mentioned that we can close the park in the wintertime. Will we have that discretion come springtime when it floods?
Yes, I've had that discussion with Mr. Charles Lee, our primary contact with the DEP, and it is my opinion that if there is an emergent reason to close the park because of flooding of the lower area, or whatever reason that might be, we have that discretion. But I would say if we're going to do that, we should notify DEP, and there's contact information. And Mr. Caserta or his office, his successor, will be the contact person between DEP and the town of Seymour.
Any further comments or questions for Fred? Fred, again, want to thank you for your hard work and effort on this. This has certainly been a long time coming, and I know you've been doing this for a long, long time.
I know people do not like to work with attorneys, but I have to say the attorneys for DEP have been quite difficult to work with on this. So we're here, Father.
Speak your truth, Fred.
That's right. But all kidding aside, Fred has put in a tremendous amount of effort and time on this. And, I mean, I probably speak for Paul. We're very appreciative of the time that Fred's put in over the last couple of years working on this. So thank you for doing that. So with that, I'll read the resolution. Resolve that the town of Seymour, acting herein by its Board of Selectmen, hereby approves and consents to the town of Seymour entering into agreement entitled Tingue Dam Fish Bypass Channel and Park Facility Operation and Maintenance Agreement between Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and the town of Seymour regarding the town of Seymour's obligations to operate and maintain the town-owned property adjacent to the fish bypass channel as described in said agreement, and the obligations of the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection regarding the operation and maintenance of the fish bypass as described in said agreement. The Board of Selectmen further authorizes W. Kurt Miller, First Selectman of the town of Seymour, to execute said agreement, a copy of which is annexed hereto and made part thereof. Okay, so can I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented? Wow. We'll go with the left side. Motion by Paul, second by Nicole. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding sidewalk reimbursement for Lisa and Paul Raymond. In your packets, you should all have a letter dated April 10, 2014 to the Board of Selectmen from Lisa and Paul Raymond. We are writing this letter requesting that we be reimbursed 1/3 of the sidewalk repair that was done in front of our residence at 19 Osprey Drive in November. The sidewalk had fallen apart and was a liability. We did this project in conjunction with 2 other residents in our neighborhood so we can get a better price on the materials. Our total was $2,900. 1/3 is $957. Thank you in advance for your consideration. Sincerely, Lisa and Paul Raymond, 19 Osprey Drive, Seymour. If you recall, we did do 2 other residents through the same program. The first resident went out and got several quotes and found the lowest bidder. We did approve that person. The neighbors then all used that same low bidder to do their work. And you can see the attached purchase order. Rory did go back and confirm that it is the same contractor that we did have the last 2 times. I ran this by town council, and town council was in agreement that this was okay to be done. So with that, I will entertain a motion to provide payment of 1/3 of the cost to Lisa and Paul Raymond for sidewalk repair at 19 Osprey Drive in the amount of $957.
So moved.
Motion by Karen, second by Len. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 10, and that is discussion and take possible action on the 2014-2015 WPCA budget. At this point, we have yet to receive the WPCA budget by charter. We are required to receive that budget by April 1st, excuse me. They are currently still working on the budget. Amber, I don't know if you want to jump in and add anything. Tony Caserta, our Director of Operations, has been working very closely with them. There are some numbers that don't seem to jive that Tony is working through to make sure that he's 100% comfortable before we accept anything. But with the board's permission, I would like to ask Town Council to please send an official letter to Ramon Seuss, who is counsel for WPCA, requesting that we have the budget by our next meeting, May 20th.
I would be happy to do so, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. So at this point, I will make a motion to table the discussion on the WPCA budget until our next meeting. So, thank you. A motion by Paul?
Second.
Second by Len. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Item number, actually I'd like to add to the agenda, a discussion and possible action regarding and authorizing a resolution for emergency management services for the town of Seymour.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Al. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding authorizing resolution for emergency services for the town of Seymour. You should all have a resolution in front of you. This is something that the board does each year, and I apologize, this was just handed to us today. So I'll read the resolution. Authorizing resolution of the town of Seymour, Connecticut Board of Selectmen. Certification. I, Susan DeBarber, the town clerk of Seymour, Connecticut, do hereby certify that the following is true and a correct copy of a resolution adopted by the Board of Selectmen at its duly called and held meeting on May 6, 2014, at which a quorum was present and acting through, and that the resolution had not been modified, rescinded, or revoked, and is at present in full force and effect. Resolved, that the Board of Selectmen may enter into, with, and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate, and further resolved that W. Kurt Miller, as first selectman of the town of Seymour, Connecticut, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents. The undersigned further certifies that W. Kurt Miller now holds the office of First Selectman, and he has held the office since December 5th, 2011. And then it says, in witness thereof, the undersigned has executed this certificate the 7th day of May, 2013, and it requires Town Clerk Susan DeBarber's signature and the town seal to be placed on it. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the authorizing resolution as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Anne Marie. Under discussion, Rich, is there anything else we need to do?
That should do it.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, item number 11, is to set the public hearing for Tuesday, May 20th, 2014, regarding the new COG ordinance. Well, just before we, because I'll read a different motion for that. We just want to apologize, as you know, we're supposed to have the public hearing this evening. Unfortunately, we did not get that into the paper in a timely fashion. That was an error by my office. So what we are doing is to ask him to reset the public hearing for our meeting in 2 weeks on the 20th. So I will reread the times and everything, and we will get that in the paper. Just as a little FYI, the ordinance committee has met. Myself, Karen, and Nicole, we're all comfortable with the COG ordinance as was created by Valley Council of Governments Council Tom Welch. So we're all very comfortable, and we'll have further discussion as a board at our May 20th meeting. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to set a public hearing for Tuesday, May 20th, 2014 at 6:45 PM in the Norma Drummer Room regarding the updating of the Council of Governments ordinance for the town of Seymour.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Karen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion, take possible action on Greenway Trail budget presentation. With us this evening, we have Fred Masori, our Economic Development Director, and Mark Nielsen, Chief Planner, I guess, for the Valley Council of Governments, who will give us a presentation on the next steps in the Greenway Trail for the town of Seymour. Fred.
Hello, everyone. Fred Masori, Economic Development Director. So what I'm putting in front of you right now is a preliminary scope of work and application for the next steps that the town of Seymour would have to take regarding the first phase of the Greenway Trail and Linear Park project that we unveiled at the end of last year and presented to you. We were fortunate enough most recently to begin our process, which was to do some mapping of the wetlands and some pre-engineering work with Mylona McBroom, which I hired this past April, the beginning of April, to start the work, not knowing when we would actually have some construction money available to us. And in that process, VCOG was working on another program, which Mark will get up and discuss a little bit further, that a project in Derby was able to allocate some funding from another source that freed up approximately $500,000 to the region. And when that came about, the Transportation Tactical Committee that I sit on, representing Seymour, had a decision to find out what project in the region would be best suited to come into in line for this funding that became available, that got freed up basically. And because we were at such a good process of our Greenway Trail program, we suggested, the board, the committee that I sit on, suggested that our project is a priority project to the region and be in line for this funding that became available. So I'll have Mark get up and discuss a little bit about what that program entails. In front of you is basically what the application is, and Mark Nielsen is the Director of Planning for VCOG.
Good evening. Again, Mark Nielsen with VCOG. Basically, the funding program that we're looking to utilize for this project is a federal aid program. It's called the Transportation Alternatives Program, and the funding is provided to the state of Connecticut with an allocation to each of the planning regions in the state. As Fred was indicating, we were allocated this money a couple, 3 years ago and had originally assigned it to a project in Derby, which is a little bit behind in getting built. And we were also looking at possibly rolling that project into the larger reconstruction of the Route 34 Main Street through Derby. So at that time, with that decision, that these funds became available, and we did look at other projects. So, we looked at the Seymour Greenway project and really thought that was a good, viable candidate. We submitted the application to the Connecticut Department of Transportation. They came down and we did a field walk with the town and the Mylona McBroom engineers to look at the proposed location. Their evaluation determined that it was a good, viable project with good logical termini, and they approved the project to move forward as well. Where we're at right now is trying to decide how we want to proceed. The allocation that is available is $400,000 federal dollars with a 20% local match, or $100,000 for the project. What we are looking to do is, since the town has already engaged Mylona McBroom to do some preliminary engineering, they're the engineer for the Tingue Dam project as well. They put together the master plan. The thought is to have the town continue with their design efforts and use my electric broom to put together design plans using your local resources. This would expedite the process, because you wouldn't have to go out and re-advertise for a designing firm. You would sort of reduce the number of reviews by the State Department of Transportation, and you'd have a lot more control on what type of project you wanted. Just to back up a little bit, what we're looking at doing is build a multi-use trail basically from Bank Street, right near the bridge, that crosses over the river, running along I guess that's the west side of the southbound on-ramp, going back underneath the Route 8 viaduct and tying into the new park, approximately about 700 feet in length. That area looks really well suited for a trail. It's relatively flat. It looks like it had been built up as part of the Route 8 construction project. So there's a nice shelf already there. It sits up fairly high above the river, so there's not a concern for flooding. And that actually reduces some of the environmental permitting that would be required because you're above any wetlands, you're above the floodplain. And so it's a fairly good site to do the project. The trail would be 10 to 12 feet wide with 2 to 3 feet of sort of clear space on either side of that. So you're looking at probably a total width of about anywhere from 15 to 20 feet. 10 to 12 of it would be a paved trail section. So that's a synopsis of the project. Again, it's very viable. Fred is working with my electric broom to come up with a quote for doing the engineering design plans, which would entail actually putting together detailed plans, the project specifications, a bid package, and a very detailed cost estimate. So that's basically the project in a nutshell. If there are any questions, I can try to answer.
And this would be phase one. This would be here from the fish bypass up to Bank Street, and then we talked about it going phase two kind of being over Bank Street, back up the other side, and then finally back across from Broad Street Park to the fish bypass.
And this is a part of the federal transportation bill. This program is likely to be continued into the future, so there is likely to be additional funding allocated to the region that, again, as this project moves forward, would be eligible to continue other phases of the overall master plan.
Any other questions, sir? Glenn, go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of wrap my head around it a little bit, maybe Fred, you might be able to answer this question a little bit easier too, but what kind of a timeline are we looking at here?
Well, again, the state is ready to initiate. And that's one reason why we wanted to come before the Board of Selectmen is to confirm the approach on moving the project forward. And obviously, you're going to be paying for it, so you have to approve it. But the state is ready to initiate, and depending on when the town decides to move forward with the design, it could actually go very quickly. The design phase on this, because again, we're dealing with about a 700-foot section, and they've already done a lot of preliminary work. Their time frame is probably, I would hazard a guess, about 6 months at most. So we're still looking at construction, probably next spring would be the start of construction. But that is a relatively quick turnaround for these types of projects. And like I said, the design is probably going to be a 6-month process, and you'd be ready to get through all the reviews and all the permitting, and then do the advertising for a contractor, and probably be ready to construct next spring.
Just thinking of Tingue Dam project and how long that was in the works. What was it, over a decade or something like that? And a year is pretty nice to hear. What time frame do we have before the feds would pull the money back?
There really isn't that concern,
Okay.
unless the town decides that you don't want to do the project. These funds have been allocated to the region. They are available. and they're ready to be obligated as soon as we're ready to actually obligate. So in some ways, the time frame is up to you. Like I said, if the town decides to do the design using local funds and continue with my own room, you control that schedule. You know, you can specify that they need to complete the design plans within a set time. And once those plans are completed, the funding would be made available and you can start constructing. Typically, after the design plans are approved by the CONDOT and Federal Highway, since this is a federally program, they'd be required. Advertising could take place, within 3 to 4 weeks after that approval. So, like I said, if we start now, 6 months puts us near fall, and use the couple 3 months during winter to do the advertising and selection of contractors. Be pretty well set for the construction season next year. And again, the one nice thing about this program is everything is in place and ready to go. So we won't have a 10-year lag before, because a lot of the planning's been done, and that's the real night, and that's why we wanted to jump on this project. Because a lot of times when we start looking at projects like this, we have to go through a lot of planning. You have to go through a lot of public outreach. You have to negotiate what do you want to do. Well, a lot of that's already been done, so we were ready to go. Knowing how much funding was available, it was pretty easy to decide which piece to sort of pick. And so it really, the timing works out well.
Just to say thank you for all your work, Fred. I think that I'm excited about this. I think it would be a great thing for the valley, or for Seymour, considering that every other town I think in the valley already has some semblance of a greenway, and we've been left out so far. So I'd like to see this happen at some point. Thank you.
And thanks so much for your presentation. And I didn't bring it up yet because I wanted to wait till I actually talk about the dollars behind it. But I thought I'd start off by saying, we recently were awarded an Excellence Award for our downtown. And I think First Selectman Miller mentioned it in his report, but I just want to reiterate, timing is optimum. This all started with an action strategy that was funded by the Economic Development Commission. And that was after I applied for funding to do this plan and was denied because they wanted to see a stronger commitment. Connecticut Main Street wanted to see a stronger commitment from the town of Seymour. So we picked ourselves up, dusted off, and we went and took our own money, put together a plan. We started implementing that plan back in 2012. And then from that plan, there was a recommendation for a Greenway trail to tie into the Fish Bypass Channel, which we were anticipating going out to bid, and the construction started back then, and now it's underway. And to tie in nicely to the policies that the states put forth, that they want to see projects like this, and also to tie into the Naugatuck Greenway Committee that other towns along the river have taken advantage of Greenway trails. So we had to do some work quickly, but again, I leveraged some of the town's monies with the state's monies to do that planning. That plan was completed for the Greenway Trail Linear Park last November. I submitted it for an award. They did not give us an award for that plan, but they actually gave it to for our entire concept, starting with the action strategy, the implementation of our downtown plan, and also now the Greenway Trail. So June 9th, there'll be a gala for the award in downtown New Haven, which you'll all be invited to. But it's a testament of your support in our efforts, my office efforts, the different partners, not just locally, but regionally on the state level. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. And now we're at the point where we can start seeing some real, good of our efforts. So what I ask for you to ponder on and consider is we will need for this project to move forward in the first phase and to take advantage of the construction money that has been allocated in this program. Our portion would be 20%, which would be approximately $100,000 for the construction side, and we still would do the design phase, which would be an approximately $75,000 investment. So $175,000 is what we would need to decide to move forward on this project. So I just wanted to put that out for your discussion and consideration, and I'm available for future discussions or questions.
Okay. Before we start our discussions, any more direct questions for Mark or Fred? I'll certainly reserve the right to bring you back into the conversation if necessary. Okay, so what I'm looking for from this board tonight is direction. You've just heard from Fred that the cost to the town is going to be in the neighborhood of $175,000. If this board feels comfortable moving forward with this project, what I'd like is 2 weeks to work with Tony and Doug to come up with the appropriate funding sources, which I'll bring back to this board at our meeting on May 20th. If we are comfortable with those funding sources, a week later, I'll then bring them to the Board of Finance to move this along. So I'm looking for direction from this board as to what they'd like me to do. And with that, I'll open it up.
Yeah, well, I can certainly, speak through my experience that I'm glad to see this move forward. And I think we should do whatever is necessary to come up with the money so that we can move this project forward. As everyone has mentioned and agreed, other communities have this already. We don't. We need something. It will get us started as to being our part of the trail that eventually we want to go all the way up to Winstead. So I think we should really work hard to make this happen.
Well,
100% quickly.
Is there anybody that disagrees with Paul's statement, or I think he probably has the thoughts of everybody in his comments? So then what I'll do is I will come back with a financing plan to this board on May 20th. At that point, we can take official action. From there, if it is positive, I will then follow up with the Board of Finance and we'll take it from there. Rich, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think it's a great project, and I think you're absolutely right. You'd like to get it off the ground, get moving, and start tying into the other communities. I think it's a great idea.
And to Fred and Mark, thank you very much for your effort and time on this. It's appreciated. And again, Fred, you weren't here, but I wanted to personally thank you for your guidance in the Main Street grant award that we received. You certainly played a very big part in that kind of organizing and running the operation for the town. So I just want to thank you on behalf of the board for that. So, okay, so then I will come back at our meeting on May 20th with some financing suggestions, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda discussion and possible action regarding a Section 824 referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the potential sale of the Maple Street School to Primrose Properties Incorporated. Can I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion by Len, a second by Nicole. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding Section 824 referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the potential sale of the Maple Street School to Primrose Properties Incorporated. As you know, we've met in executive session several times about the potential of selling Maple Street School to Primrose Properties Incorporated. We are very far along in the process. I'll let Rich weigh in a moment. In our last meeting, you folks gave me the consensus to do what I needed to do to get the deal closed. We are just about there. Right before I came down, I received an email from Brian Lima from Rich's office saying that we basically have all the final language cleared up and we're ready to move forward. But one of the steps that we need to take is referring the potential sale to Planning and Zoning for the 824 approval. So in a moment, I'm going to ask for that authority to do so. But before that, Rich, if you can just walk the board through the steps that we'll need to take over the next month or so.
It starts with the 824 process. Section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes requires a referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the purpose of that commission rendering a report back to the Board of Selectmen with respect to the sale or the possible sale of a particular piece of municipally owned property. So it seemed like we are very far along in the process. I think we're on the final strokes in terms of putting together contract language. We should have that work solidified in the next couple of days. It's perfect time to go through an 824 process. In addition to that, there are a couple of other things you can do if you're looking down the road. Section 7-163E of the Connecticut General Statutes requires a public hearing anytime a municipality is going to sell a piece of real property, and that has to be set by the Board of Selectmen. I think if you want to add that to the agenda too tonight, you might want to set that date for June 3rd, because that statute requires 2 legal notices to be published in a newspaper of general circulation. So if you can set that date far enough out, we'll work with Rory to make sure that the legal notices get put in the paper in compliance with that statute. That statute also requires a sign to be posted on the property. So that'll give us enough time to get a sign posted before the public hearing. So I think that's an optimal date. So we'll go through that process. As you know, your charter also requires a special town meeting with respect to the sale of the property. So you might also want to set that for the 17th, after the June 3rd date. So we're going to have all those things, and then after that, we would be, if the public is in favor of it, and Planning and Zoning Commission's in favor, and you folks are in favor, and the town meeting, at some point, we'll produce an authorizing resolution for Kurt to enter into the contract on behalf of the town of Seymour. And then they'll start moving forward with the process of obtaining their zoning approvals. And I think now where we are, we're talking about I'm doing this from memory, a closing shortly before the end of the year. So it's moving forward, and it looks like you have the makings of a deal. So with the Primrose Companies, Inc. So those are the other matters. I don't know if you want to do that tonight or not, set the public hearing.
We can certainly go ahead and do
But-
that. Just
but
make
that-
3 separate motions.
Yeah, you could do that.
With regards to discussions that we had on the contract, everything is basically as we discussed. The sales price, use of the building, as well as the tax incentive that goes along with it. It's right what we had discussed and what was presented to you. But before we make final approval, or this board gives final approval, Rich is going to prepare a summary memo just to go through so everybody can see without having to.
With the various terms and conditions of the transaction.
Been a little bit of back and forth, but I think, again, Fred's hard work and diligence, having his professional expertise has been extremely helpful, not having to pay for a commercial realtor, save the town tens of thousands of dollars. So I think Fred justified his salary, at least for the next year, on this sale alone. So certainly some benefit to that. So we have 3 separate motions that we'll need to make, so we'll go through them kind of in order. So the first motion I'd like to make is a motion to forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a Section 824 referral, the potential sale of the Maple Street School to Primrose Properties Incorporated.
So moved.
Motion by Len.
Second.
Second by Al. Is there any discussion?
If I can, to sell to the Primrose Companies, comma, Inc. Period.
Okay.
That's the actual legal name.
Oh, sorry. The Primrose Properties.
The Primrose Companies, Inc.
Primrose. Oh, companies. Oh, I'm saying, I keep saying properties. Sorry.
I have a question.
Okay, motion was made and seconded. Questions, Karen?
We're calling it Maple Street, not Lopresti?
Well, I believe,
We could call it 29 Maple Street, Seymour, Connecticut, also known as the Anna L. Lopresti School.
Just ask.
well, I said Maple Street simply because I thought Lopresti went away when we renamed the school.
Yeah.
So I don't,
Formerly known as.
also known as
Yes.
doing business as the building over there. So, is that okay the way it was stated, or do I need to restate it all?
That's fine.
Okay, but no Karens, I just note for the record. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next motion will be to set a public hearing.
I think you want to add that to your agenda. For the purpose of setting the public hearing and setting
I can do them both in one.
Sure. A special town meeting.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda discussion and possible action regarding the setting of a public hearing for June 3rd, 2014, and a town meeting for June 17th, 2014, for the potential sale of the building at 29 Maple Street, formerly known as the Anna Lopresti Elementary School and Maple Street Elementary School to the Primrose Companies, Incorporated. Can I have a motion to do so? Motion by Nicole, second by Len. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Okay, next item on our agendas is the setting of the public hearing and the town meeting. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to set the public hearing for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2014 at 6:30 PM in the Norma Drummer Room for the purpose of the discussion of the potential sale of the building at 29 Maple Street to Primrose Companies Incorporated.
So moved.
Motion by Len,
Second.
second by Karen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next item for discussion, a motion to set the town meeting, set a town meeting for June 17th, 2014 at 6:30 PM. Should we give more time for that? Maybe half hour's enough time?
Yes, because if it's running over, what we can do is recess the
Start the select
town
meeting.
meeting, start, recess that, and go back.
All right, so for June 17th, 2014 at 6:30 PM in the Norma Drummer Room to discuss the potential sale and to vote on the potential sale of the building at 29 Maple Street to the Primrose Companies Incorporated.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. So that covers them all?
That covers that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Next item on the agenda, item number 13, executive session. We currently have no executive session. Item number 14, appointments. We have one appointment before us. And Rich, just before we make the appointment, I just want to confirm the expiration date. This is replacement of an elected official. So therefore, the term would expire on election day, the next election day. So it'd be the first Tuesday in November, first Tuesday following the first Monday in November of 2015, correct?
Yes, but you could make your motion to fill the unexpired term.
We can just make it that,
Sure.
because election day in 2015 would be November 3rd.
What appointment are we doing here?
This is Library Board of Directors.
All right.
Since it's a
Expiration date, I'm looking at something here, expiration date 5/1/2015.
I think it should be,
Am I
and
saying
I
that
apologize for
right?
not saying this before, but it should be because it's an elected official. Generally, the terms are filled until the next election. Again, sorry I didn't catch this beforehand.
Other boards. Next regular election and disqualified, yes. So what you can do is, if you want, you can put the expiration date as the election date.
So November 3rd, 2015.
Sure.
Okay. And then another term, I'll put vacancy fill, just for everybody's notification. Okay, Stephen Koulas, Library Board of Directors. It's an appointment to fill an elected vacancy, expiration date of November 3rd, 2015.
So moved.
Motion by Paul,
Second.
second by Karen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rich. Item number 15, tax refunds and abatements. Nicole?
Office of the Tax Collector dated May 1st, 2014, to the Board of Selectmen from the Tax Collector. The following overpayments of tax payments in total of $138.93 need to be approved for refund in accordance with provisions of Section 12-129 of the Connecticut General Statutes, dated Seymour, the first day of May 2014, Dana Flock Tax Office.
Thank you, Nicole. Can I have a motion to accept the report as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Anne Marie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is transfers. We have no transfers before us this evening. Under correspondence, two pieces of correspondence. We have the check runs, and then we also have just a summary of the prescription discount card that we put into effect last year. And again, the savings to date for Seymour residents, $23,823.92. So that program is certainly having a direct impact on the residents of Seymour, so something I think this board should be very proud of. Okay, next item on the agenda, item number 18, public comment. Is there any additional public comment? Please state your name and address for the record. Please come to the microphone.
Robert Leggio, 84 Colony Road, Seymour, Connecticut. I don't know if this is a public comment, but I wanted to ask Mr. Miller about the request I put to be on the agenda for tonight, if it was carried out. For what reason?
I can't get into a discussion with you at this point.
Huh?
I can't get into a discussion with you at this point. I will address it during my comments if you'd like.
I want the question answered. Why wasn't I put on the agenda?
I will answer your question during First Selectman's comments in a moment.
Okay. Sorry, I'm out of order.
Is there any additional public comment? Is there any additional public comment? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. Selectmen's comments. Mrs. Stanton.
I'd just like to reinforce the comment that was made earlier today about the condition of our roads. We really need to repair many miles of roads. I agree with the comment that the road by the library is a real mess, but there are lots of other roads that need attention.
I would agree with your statement. Last year, we're entering our third year of the Proactive Road Program. The problem that we have is the funding is so small. It's only $150,000 this year. $150,000 maybe gets us from here to the water fountain, unfortunately. We are trying to be as proactive as possible. It's going to take us 4 or 5 more years to get that proactive account to a level where we can actually make a dent. I mean, I'm just going to say it as it is. We dropped the ball maintaining our roads for the last 10 years, period. There's no other way to describe it. And unfortunately now we're playing catch up, and there's only so much that can be done so fast. We've had 2 very difficult winters, which has made a bad situation substantially worse. The Public Works Board, and maybe Len can speak to this a little bit, is putting together some roads for this year. Our goal is to do about $200,000 of road work in the spring and about another $200,000 of road work in the summer. We do need to keep some money in reserve to pay for the Ribbon Hill project, which is that's a substantial project that was done. Most of that money is coming from the state and federal level, but there is a town contribution that we need to be wary of. So I guess the long answer to your question is we're trying to do the best we can, but unfortunately we're behind the 8 ball, and I think realistically it's going to take a few more years for us to catch up.